So there's been a lot of changes that have happened over the past couple months here at Raw Motivations. And one of those changes started several years ago with meeting someone that came into my life whose name was Julianne. And Julianne came in and started to work for Raw Motivations for a period of time. And inside of that, God connected us with knowing that we had a heart to serve people, a heart to connect to others, and a heart to really see lives transformed and transitioned all across the globe. So inside of that, I am transitioning out of Raw Motivations and moving in a completely different path. God has called me to no longer take up the mantle and the torch of dealing with raw motivations and narcissistic content. And I've moved completely away from that and moving to work just with men inside of a company called Warrior. And as a result, the person who's coming into Raw Motivations and that I'm excited to take over the journey here is Julianne. So excited to be with her here today. So it's been an amazing journey, just all of Raw Motivations. You've been a part of several years of the journey and just excited to be able to have you here and excited to be able to pass the torch, just be something to be able to send over to you, kind of given your own words, just your perspective, stepping into Raw Motivations initially as you first came in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's been such an honor and a pleasure to work with you, to grow our friendship, now to have like our families connecting is really fun. And gosh, just it's been an honor leading and guiding these women inside of Raw Motivations and seeing what you have set up and being able to take that forward into a new chapter. I'm really, really excited. I have such a heart for this work. It's something that God called me to a long time ago, which we can get into a little bit. But yeah, it's been so fulfilling to my soul and my spirit to work with you these past few years.
Yeah.
And just everything. It's just from the first conversation Ben and I had, it was just like, all right, well, this just feels totally aligned. And yes, and I don't really know where this is going to go, but yeah, here we are. Let's just roll with it. And it's just been every piece along the way, I feel like, has been leading us here, which we didn't know, I said it's 2020 for sure. And then you told me about this new chapter that's unfolding for you, which I'm so excited about. I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like, of course, this is the plan that God has set forth.
Yeah. I think alignment has been one of the biggest words in our friendship and our connection over the past couple of years working with Raw Motivations. When you first stepped in, it was for a period of time and then stepped out having your child. And we had our child at the same time. So it was really cool just to see that. But then there's a piece of like, whenever you stepped away from Raw Motivations, even for a period of time, there was a piece where I knew you'd either be back or we'd still have connection. And so having you come back into Raw Motivations and then be at a place where God's like, here, and give away Raw Motivations, you take and run with it, has been really cool. But it's been, now looking back, it's just knowing this has been the design all along.
Yeah.
Of what God planned, and here we are. So give everybody just an idea, just a little bit about you. Like, who are you when you think of coming into Raw Motivations? Some people have already worked with you inside of different coaching calls, inside of different events and different pieces you've been a part of. But for everybody else who hasn't been, like, give us a little bit of your story.
Yeah. Yeah, so my name is Julianne, obviously, as we've established, and I've been in the coaching space for the past 5+ years, and I really got into this work because of my own journey of triumph and healing, and again, like I said, God really placed this calling on my heart to help people, and it started, just give you a little background context. So when I was younger, maybe in my teenage years, like many people, I had a really tumultuous time in that. And now that I have more knowledge, skills, and tools and understanding, I realize that like my system, my nervous system, my emotions, everything was so overwhelmed. And in our society, there is no structure, no training, no teaching, in schools or when people are growing up of like, this is your spectrum of emotions. This is your nervous system. And this is what your nervous system does. And this is why it's really important to make sure that it's regulated. And so I was in a very, very high pressure environment, a boarding school in my teenage years, and I just like could not handle it. I went through a lot of, conventional treatment. I was in a couple treatment centers for eating disorders. I was in therapy for a lot of years for depression and anxiety, and I was medicated. And, like those things helped for a time, but it didn't fix like the root and the core of what I was really dealing with. It just felt like kind of surface symptom management. And I felt underneath like there's more than I need here. Like, yeah, I'm coasting, like I feel okay in life, but I don't feel truly happy. And I don't feel like truly fulfilled in my soul and my spirit. So then it was really my best friend passed away really unexpectedly when I was 18. And that was like a really big turning point in my healing journey from an emotional standpoint, but also from a spiritual standpoint. And that's where I really felt connected to God and like, God, like I need you in this moment because none of this is making sense to me in my life. I think that I'm a good person, right? Why do all these things keep happening? And so for me, like that event was such a turning point in realizing one, like so important to have gratitude for everything that we have in life, like really coming back to the present moment of things, like no time is guaranteed, right? And it's like, how can we just be so grateful for every day? And how can I be fully in the day and realize like, okay, did I tell the people that are closest to me that I love them today, do I feel happy? Like if this were, God forbid, my last day on life, like, do I feel happy in the ways that I've affected people and, the relationships that I have, what I've accomplished in my life? And so anyways, that was a really big turning point for like presence and gratitude and calling in that spiritual connection with God and cultivating that personal relationship. And that's something that I really like to help people with in my coaching is like, how do you cultivate that personal relationship with God? And what does that look like for you? How do you really know how to hear his voice and listen to him? So anyways, going through, it was once I really was able to understand and connect with what was happening for myself emotionally, like what does overwhelm in my system look like? What does dysregulation in my system look like? And what is a myriad of tools that I can use depending on the circumstance and the situation, And so I got into this work of helping other people through coaching because I had to help myself through it because I felt like the tools that I had available at the time weren't effective for what I needed to do. Like really that like deep work, and really understanding yourself. And you've done a lot of work around the subconscious rewiring, which is a huge part of it too. And just starting to uncover like, oh my gosh, I have all of these really, negative self-limiting beliefs from childhood, right? Of like I'm unworthy or I'm unlovable or like having this low self-esteem. And it's so interesting. I remember like being in family therapy sessions, right, when I was going through treatment with my parents and me recalling this memory from when I was like 4 years old. That was such a benign thing. My parents are like, I don't even remember that. But when you're a little kid, right? And like we both have little kids, you understand how it is with the emotions. And if you aren't taught like those emotional regulation tools when you're little, then it opens up all of these, you hold on to things and then these patterns get created and then you create stories off these patterns. And then we've both seen this with clients, once you're in your 40s and your 50s, you're still running with these patterns that you developed when you were like 4 or 5 years old that really have no basis in reality. But that's just like the story that you've created. And most people, again, because we are not taught these tools in society, because no one says like, hey, no, shows you the patterns that you're operating in. Most people operate in those patterns for their entire lives and they never feel their, full potential. They never fully feel that purpose in life because there's just these things that keep people stuck,
That's so true.
Yeah.
The story that you tell yourself is one of the biggest things that holds you hostage.
Yeah.
And so many things that happen from an early place, from an early childhood place, get you to a place that you keep seeing the same patterns, same things over and over and over again. And all of a sudden you're farther down in life. You're like, why am I operating this way?
Yes.
Why am I getting triggered when this event happens? Why am I getting frustrated when this person does this, when they don't mean anything about it? But it's still the subconscious, the wiring that's been there for such a long period of time. So, I mean, that shares a lot just about where you are and a lot of your experiences and things that have brought you to here. What's been the main piece for you of why Raw Motivations? And I'll explain a little bit of even leading up to it, but also want to hear just like the why piece for you of like, why did it make sense for you? What was the piece behind it that felt connected and aligned when I'm like, hey, why don't you run Raw Motivations now? What was the why for you?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I have my own personal experience with toxicity, abuse in relationships, in romantic relationships, in work relationships, because it's not just romance. Like this can happen in any type of interpersonal relationship. I know how hard that can be for someone to tolerate and how you feel like you can just be going crazy with things, right? Because it's like the facts versus the story. And so for me, it feels personal. I have a personal calling to help people through this because of my own experience with it. And also, like, I'm excited to bring a new range of tools. You've helped so much. And now it's like, okay, let's shift the perspective. Two, there's so much importance in like feminine energy leading females. And, that's something that's come up in our group calls that I've run inside of Raw Motivations is like, this is ladies hour, like, yeah, Ben's amazing and we love Ben and there's so much that he can offer people. And sometimes like, we got to talk about hormones and these different things that like are very true for women, but like men just don't understand. So yeah, also bringing in like fresh perspective and getting more into that female side of it as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's been a process and a piece where God's shown me I've led as far as I'm meant to lead inside of here. And so it came up several months ago that God laid on my heart of knowing this was done. It was no longer a piece. And part of it is actually because of my own healing journey. Like everything that has led to this place and Raw Motivations only exists because of my healing journey. Like when you think of it, like everything that has happened inside of my life that has been the worst, most awful things that could have ever happened that I caused, that I did, also led to the place of having hundreds, thousands, millions of people even seeing the videos and thousands of people that we've worked with to be able to help them heal. But it's also at a place where I realized that I could no longer stay in the same place. And for me, it ended up being a place of my journey had gone to such a level and such a degree where I was like, it no longer helps me to actually continue to talk about the same things that I'm not exemplifying anymore, or that I'm not doing and talking from my personal experience. Oftentimes would continue to bring me back to the same feelings, same thoughts that I was like, I started to get disconnected from it. Like, that's really the reality is there was a piece of disconnect. And then once I knew I was supposed to give it away, and then once we had a conversation, I was like, hey, by the way, I'm stepping away from Raw Motivations. Here's my new path. You can either take it or it's going to die. But either way, I'm literally just stepping away because God was like, it's done. All of a sudden, that was just a switch that happened in my mind. And it was like, okay. And then I started seeing the fruit of it afterwards from different people that reached out, different people that were concerned, different people that were happy. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, this 100% is the right move, because I started seeing people that wanted to limit me to only that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've grown farther than that. So that's why everything I've done is brought to this point to be able to say, okay, here's a new foundation of I've carried people for a while in a certain direction, and like the awareness and some of the opening and the understanding, the vulnerability of what they're going through, that they're not alone. And then now they get a whole new chapter with you to be able to see, okay, what does that look like? And so talk to us a little bit about that as it moves forward. Like, where do you kind of see some of this going, and where do you see like what's next for Raw Motivations in your eyes?
Yeah, thank you. And before I get to that, I want to touch on something that you said, because I think it's really important for people to understand. This was true for my own story as well, that some of the darkest days that I went through, I'm now so grateful for, because it led me to this point where now I can help thousands of other people through really challenging things. And I think God places trials on our doorstep that, one, God will never give us something that we cannot handle, truly. And number two, there is always a lesson in that, and it is always for our highest good and our growth. And I know that when we are stuck in that pit, when we're in that really dark place, it can be frustrating to hear that. I know I would feel frustrated if people told me that, but I say that like as a word of encouragement and of hope, and like, do not give up and do not settle for thinking that this is just going to be this dark thing and that's going to be your whole life. And I think like one of the most beautiful pieces of Raw Motivations that you've brought together, that it's literally going to make me tear up because I just like see it with these women on the calls. But just like when people come to Raw Motivations and they have that community and they're like, oh my gosh, and I thought I was the only person that felt this way, you know, like I'm not alone in this. I'm so grateful that I'm here. And that's something that's really important. I'm going to continue that and like even foster it and grow it more. And actually, that's one of the roles that we brought me into Raw Motivations to do, is that community building. And so really for everyone, like even if you've just watched the videos and you've never been in one of our courses, never joined a program, like that's okay. I want you to know that like there is a place for you inside this community as well. And we really want you here. And you're not alone in this. You don't have to go through it. And even though Raw Motivations is changing to a new chapter, there's always going to be place for you here, and you are always welcome. So do not worry about that. And it's not like anything's going away. Like it's just getting bigger and better and growing, which is huge.
Well, I'm super excited just out of everything that has happened, the role that you played here at Raw Motivations, the community aspect that you built. The ladies absolutely love working with you and just being a part of the Empower Hour and different pieces that you've had your hands on over the years. Where do you kind of envision, like what's your future vision of Raw Motivations and your role in it? And is it going to turn? Where's it going to go? Like I've said, I don't have any stake in it because I'm just excited. I'm passing it off. I'm going a different direction and excited to see what you do with it. So talk to us about your vision for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say, like, I'm seriously so grateful with where you have Raw Motivations and the healing that you've offered so many people. Like, I just know, and working with the women and speaking with them, like, you have just helped transform, truly, like, truly transformed thousands of lives. And one of the most exciting things for me in that too is like, it's not just that life, it's the next generations of lives, you know, and like it's their kids, their grandkids. And so that's just so amazing. And I feel so grateful to step into this. But what's next for Raw Motivations, I'm really, really excited for. And I want to offer depth in the emotional regulation and understanding piece of this. So a lot of what I like to do with the women already in the calls, and what I want to continue to do, is a lot of nervous system regulation, somatic practices, understanding for yourself. Okay, when my system is dysregulated, what does that feel like? Like, what is the actual sensation in my body? And then we can tie sensations to emotions, which is really exciting and interesting, because then we start to understand this blueprint for ourselves, right? And you say, okay, oh, when I feel this pit in my stomach, I know that's shame for me. And so I'm like, okay, so now how do I work on this shame? It's like, oh, cool, I have this awareness around this sensation. Okay, now I'm going to pause, right? Because again, if we come back to the patterns, if I feel that shame and I know I have that shame there, I'm going to have a tendency or a possibility to react from that place of shame, which is obviously not going to serve me. That's not going to serve my partner. That's not going to serve my kids. That's not going to serve anyone. So what I want to do in that situation, and this is like a whole framework that I help people around, is like, we first notice the sensation, figure out what is the emotion tied to the sensation, give ourselves a legitimate pause. I'm going to pause for a moment, take a few deep breaths, and I'm going to respond rather than react. Because when we are reacting, we are coming from that triggered place, that trauma response. It's not ultimately helpful for us. And then we're just going to continue down those maladaptive patterns that get people stuck in places like abusive relationships or having low self-esteem, or these different things that a lot of these women that come into Raw Motivations are struggling with. And so it's like, okay, well, we are going to like connect with our body, regulate our nervous system, understand our whole spectrum of emotions, which is a lot that women have, and then I'm going to like create a different story and really like not come from that same trauma triggered response place, but truly from like a grounded place. And I think a huge piece of that too is looking at, again, a lot of what I see the women coming into Raw Motivation struggling with, and other clients that I've worked with, is like low self-esteem. And then it gets you into these, it's just like this perpetual thing that's at the core of a lot of these bad situations that people end up in. And so it's like, okay, how do we actually build confidence? And this is something that, I'm now like a very confident person. I think that's something that we related on, was just like our ability to go back and forth, and
Right.
kind of just like riff off each other and have fun with that. But back a decade ago, I had debilitating anxiety. Like I was on Xanax for it. I would have massive panic attacks. I would get panic attacks like just going to the grocery store, which like now that you see me, you're like, that's how, it doesn't like compute. And so, and a lot of that like anxiety that led to low self-esteem. And then I was not confident showing up in situations. And so for me, again, it's like, I'm in this work because I've lived a lot of these different things, and I know what it feels like. I know how challenging it is to be in a place of just like, you just feel worthless or really low on yourself for whatever reason. And there's so many reasons people get to that place, but I see this in women so often, is that they struggle with confidence, and that cascades into so many other issues. And so, that's like a huge piece of it too, is like, I want women to build confidence in themselves. I want women to like feel confident in their decisions and like trust themselves in their decisions. Like that's a huge thing that like the women inside of Raw Motivation struggle with too, is like, sometimes it feels like you just wake up and you're like, how did I get myself into this situation? And how is this my life? And so that then starts to erode at your trust in yourself. Like, can I trust other decisions that I'm making? And, like, again, I have a whole framework around this of how to build self-trust, how to build confidence, how to really understand yourself. And then last piece I'll say with that too is, once you feel really sure within yourself, once you have your strong identity, once you have your confidence, that's when the connection with God is like super, super important. And I think as women, like our intuition is our superpower. And that is also the place where God can connect with us most. And so when we can strip away all of these outside influences, whether that's, childhood conditioning, societal conditioning, generational trauma and stuff that gets passed down in our epigenetics, like all of these things lead to like our present reality. And when we can strip all of those external things away and get really grounded in our identity of ourselves, it opens up this place for like, okay, like I really know myself, and so now I can really know God like really strongly too.
That's awesome. I'm super excited just to see what comes next as we pass the mantle and as you continue moving forward with Raw Motivations. And just, I know that a lot of women are there to be able to hear your voice. And that was one thing I remember speaking into you, and having just the reality of like, I have spoken to people for such a long period of time to move to a place of where it is now. And now there's people out there that need to hear from you. That they don't need to hear from me. They don't have I don't have any more info that I can give. I don't have any more info that is going to actually have them understand. But there's people that are looking for you to share your message, your story, your life, your ability to be able to help them see and feel where they actually are. And I'm excited just to see what happens and where it goes from there and how God leads. So
thank you.
Super excited.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a piece of it too that I shared with you a few weeks ago, is like, I have felt this calling from God for a while of like, you have such a good message. You're so helpful for people. Like, you just need to get out there more. Right. And I've just been like, and that's part of like my own imposter syndrome that I've been dealing with. And maybe it's like, because I'm young or whatever, these different things, but I'm like, oh, like, I think it's more too like the fear of, and this is kind of the reason why Raw Motivation started the way it was, because of like trying to get distance, like share your story, right? But also get distance from people in your actual life. And so I think there's part of that fear too of like, oh, like what is this person that I went to high school with gonna think, you know? But it's like you can't let those things keep you small and keep you away from God's calling too. So I love that now, like this God is just literally like, here's this platform and opportunity. Now you cannot say no. Like your message has to get out there.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. So as a result, there's going to be several different things that are going to be changing here at Raw Motivations. You're going to see different shifts happen over the next couple of weeks, months. I don't know all the time frame on it, but inside of that, specifically inside of some of the pieces that we've shown to the public and that we've also had people join one of our programs, Survivor to Thriver, Thriver, are all different aspects that I've facilitated and led for a period of time, and those are going to be wrapping down. You'll be able to check that out, be able to see the time frame that'll be left on those, but it'll be one of the last times that people are able to engage with some of the specific content and guiding to be able to help people heal from narcissistic abuse from my frame and from my set of reference. And then as everything starts to switch, there'll be different pieces that will slowly retire and slowly pull back from, and still other aspects to be able to help with healing, but none of those that are going to be coming directly from and through me inside of it. So excited to see the next stage and the next direction. What's anything that's next, or anything that's next that you want to be able to share?
Just speaking to, I know a lot of people follow your content, obviously, for the narcissistic abuse recovery side of things. And I just want those people to know that that is not going away. You're still going to get support with that. It's just going to be evolving. So it's not going to be specific to, hey, if he does this, this is what to do. But it's going to be a lot of these foundational pieces, again, like understanding your emotion, the nervous system regulation, how to set healthy boundaries. I think that's a huge thing too, women in general struggle with. And so that's going to be like a huge kind of part of our flagship of what we're doing, is just really like, I just want to give so many resources to people, because over my past 5+ years of coaching, I've created and accumulated a lot of resources that they're not doing any good sitting in my Google Drive and just working with my small number of clients, right? So it's like, okay, let's get those out to more people and just like share it. Like I just want people to have the resources that they need. And so that's a lot of that is going to be coming, a lot of things about boundaries, a lot of different somatic practices, nervous system regulation, different like guided meditations and little skills and tools that you can use anywhere. And then if people would like, of course, you can work one-on-one with me as well. And we'll have information about how to do that. And then, yeah, as we just get ramping and rolling with everything, like more courses to come, which I'm really, really excited about.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been a blessing just working with you, and a blessing just passing this over, and excited.
Thank you. I'm so excited too. So yeah, here's to what is next.
Do you ever feel guilty for saying no, or feel like people walk all over you? I want to invite you to my free 5-day boundary reboot challenge. We'll get live coaching every day, real scripts, and you'll walk away with the tools to hold the line with confidence. You can sign up at the link below, and I look forward to seeing you there.